Alrighty then.
Hey, that's not fair.
Just don't do it on live so we don't get kicked off.
Okay.
Got some notes here. Today we're kicking off episode 5 of Exes to Allies.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen, heard the previous 4 episodes, we were live, but you can
Or
check
seen
out
on YouTube.
clips. That's right, on YouTube.
We're on YouTube. We're streaming on Spotify podcasts if you want to listen. This is, without a doubt, a very novice project. Okay, we are not professional podcasters by any means.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're not getting top quality audio or anything like that, but this story is worth listening to, in our opinion, and that's why we're bringing it to you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so on that note, episode 5 this week, we're talking about the Pact. How did we get here? The agreement. Have any of you ever made any sort of agreement or pact with someone that you never saw yourself living with? Because that's what happened to us.
Mm-hmm.
Namely, because we share a mutual ex-boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
He was in a long-term romantic dynamic relationship with D, and
Fake one, basically.
and he has 3 children with me, and we were never married, and so we're here to tell our story about that because we live together now, and he isn't really actively co-parenting, so we co-parent together. Okay, so our first talking point is just a brief recap of the general situation, right? Which is, you are Gen X, you dated our mutual ex for just under 10 years.
It was about 8.
About 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
Dealt with some abuse and then left.
Quite a bit of abuse.
Which we'll get into here in a little bit. And then for me, just having kids and trying to navigate a co-parenting dynamic with somebody who's in a romantic dynamic with somebody else, but is actively, participating in infidelity. And of course, we've spoken on past episodes about the triangulation that happened between the 2 of us and how you and I were not friends during the time that the 2 of you were dating. Although we were civil, when we were in mutual spaces, there was never any ability for us to build a bond or get to know each other truly, right?
Mm-hmm. Because we were suppressed in doing that.
Correct. Is your mic on?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for telling me.
It's okay. So, the prequel, there you go. So the prequel, before we agreed to move in together, before you offered me a safe haven to gain some stability and get away from the abusive co-parenting dynamic.
We need to get them caught up.
Yeah, so what was your living situation? What was your relationship with our ex at that point? Just kind of where were you emotionally, financially, mentally before you offered us the offer of coming to live with you?
Okay, so it's hard to remember where we left off on the story, but I think we left off with the Vegas story where things were crazy in Vegas. After that, there was a lot of still interacting with said person, even though I probably shouldn't have been. But it's hard when you are with someone for 8 years and you like are madly in love with them, even though they think that you're not.
And there's like a, abusive dynamic because that said person is a narcissist.
You're bonded by trauma.
Trauma bond, exactly. So it's a lot of in and out, back and forth. They say that it takes the typical DV victim an average of 7 times to leave before they leave for good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, I decided to go down to a certain part of California.
San Diego.
I decided to go down to San Diego because there was, by him, a hope to see the kids. Like, I hadn't seen them because we had been in Vegas for
months.
Like 2 months.
Yeah.
And so I hadn't seen the kids, and I missed them, like they were, I considered them like my stepkids. I literally love them more than I could possibly say. So, I thought, well, at that point, with all the abuse that I had been through, I was like at the point where the kids were honestly the only thing that was really super excited about in the relationship, that felt normal and happy. So the thought of being able to see them, I was like, yeah. And so I got a really awesome room at a hotel in San Diego. And it was still a continuance of madness, the same madness that was occurring in Vegas.
He was on an active bender at the time. Mm-hmm. A lot of drinking, a lot of prescription drugs involved, and then, so because of that, lack of sleep, high cortisol levels in everybody, high emotional dysregulation in everybody, right? So it was definitely a situation you were going through.
It was a lot. I mean, to be honest with you, I was still having to work remotely through all of this, so it was a lot. And one night things got to a weird place. I don't know, it felt like someone else was in the hotel, on the other side of the hotel, one of the other 2 chicks that were involved with him. Right? You and the other one.
There may have been, but also you have to keep in mind where that was just blocks from where me and the kids were. And that was a part of what happened during the night, right? Him driving with our child inebriated,
yes.
A lot of really crazy shit happened that night.
Yeah, it was a lot. I was scared just being picked up in the middle of the day going to a fast food restaurant. It was pretty over the top. And
I was, just as a side note, I was at the beach house at the time, feeling the same amount of anxiety as you because he was popping in and out. I have pictures from during that time of everything in that apartment stacked in front of the door in hopes that he couldn't bust through and come scare the living hell out of us and terrorize us in the middle of the night and break shit and potentially hurt somebody. There was a lot so we were both going through it, but this was the very height of your situation and when you decided to finally leave, right?
Yeah. So I got to see the kids and we had a great time at the hotel swimming, and they had movies at night in the pool area and whatnot. So it was nice, but there was a lot of paranoid behavior by him. It was just over the top, all over the place, kind of, you never knew what was going to happen next kind of thing. And then he, like, said that he was going to take the kids home and that acted like it was my fault that he was taking them home and that it's like I've been through a lot, so it's hard to remember every single detail, but he would just blame me and like turn things around on me always, like it was my fault, and just make me feel
so. And then also you have to take into account, and I don't mean to speak over you, I just want to make things very clear that like during that time you were very heavily wrapped up in narcissistic abuse with someone who was on an active like addiction bender. So there's a lot of like every narcissistic tool in the book is being used against you, right? Like the physical torture of like keeping you from being able to sleep, keeping you from being able to feel safe and like emotionally regulated, spending your money, taking your things, hiding your things, deleting your things, locking you out of your things.
Being punched repeatedly in the face all night long,
Yeah, you know what I mean? So, and then on top of that, so all of those things compiled, when you lash out back because you're hurt and you're confused and you're scared, that's called reactive abuse. So anything that he'd be like, oh my God, you're screaming, blah, blah, blah. Like, oh, you're being so scary and crazy.
And,
like, that's reactive abuse that you were experiencing, which is that his abuse was so heightened and you were so dysregulated and discombobulated and didn't know up from down that you were abusing him in return because that's all you knew and that's all that made sense in that moment. Because it's a human instinct.
I also was like, you know, I'm not gonna let him make my life complete chaos. So of course I was drinking some beers along with him, you know, like, because that was really honestly the only way that I could cope with the situation at hand.
Sanity,
you know, at that time. It was a lot. And it was a lot because, you know, I loved him like to the depths of my soul. Even though he had done all of that stuff, I still loved him. And it was because of, you know, his past and what had happened to him and stuff like that. Like, I still felt somewhat sorry for him and thought that he was lashing out and behaving this way for a reason. And anyway, it's just, it sucks to watch someone that you love go through something like that, you know?
Yeah, just been
and treat you the way that they were treating you, and it's devastating, you know, to go through that. And I couldn't convey that enough. Like, you would have to have gone through it to know what I was talking about. But, you know, He took the kids that night, sorry, to get back to the story, he took the kids that night, he had been drinking, and he took them, you know, to,
the beach house, where I was.
Yeah. And, you know, then he actually left his phone at the pool. And so...
Oh, you did tell this when he came back to get it and you were trying to be nice and you're like, I have your phone, and then he like tackled you and all that.
I did tell that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So this is that night.
Coughing up blood.
Refer back to episode 2 where she tells her story about everything she went through. It's dwindling.
Your memory.
No, it's not. I have a fantastic memory. My brain's gonna be with me for years. But all of that to say, this is that night that she's referring to, and she has talked about it a little bit in detail, like the very scary things that she went through. But all of this to say, this was like the last straw for you. This was the end, the end.
Yeah, I forgot I had said this already. So yeah, that was the end, and I, had to get on a plane the next day to go for a job, for my job across country. And so I did that, and then I told my mom, and she helped me get all my stuff and drive across country, and I moved over to the East Coast, on the coast. And then I was feeling at first just scared, terrified. Didn't know if he was gonna show up or whatnot.
Follow you and try to continue the chaos.
Yeah, because there was still a lot of chaos going on through text and email, phone calls, a lot of harassment, a lot. I couldn't even begin to describe how much. It was ridiculous amounts.
So was there a point where that stopped? You blocked him from everything, right? Or
I changed my number at some point. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you stopped his ability to contact you, and that's when you kind of started to gain some peace. Started to kind of settle in here a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it was a situation where I felt I was in a very peaceful place. So peaceful you can hear a pin drop. And I had come from PB where things were wild as hell constantly. So it was very boring for me. I was like, these people are so boring. They don't make any sound at all.
Not the raging Pacific Beach neighbors giving you high expectations for the sleepy South.
I don't know. So I was going through that, and then I was going through, my dog wasn't doing so well, and I was
just getting older and having health problems.
Yeah, and then I was, trying to grow some things and be a gardener. I like growing things, so. I was trying to do that sort of stuff. I moved into an apartment about 6 minutes from the beach. And I got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath because I was I am at an age where I feel if I'm not buying a house and I'm going to rent, a good space.
A home, yeah.
Well, and have people visit and whatnot, so... But, as time went on, people didn't really visit. I mean, I had friends who were just busy in LA doing LA things, which I don't blame them, Here I am in North Carolina, and I'm just come visit. And I did have one of my best friends and his husband come with him to come visit me. That was the highlight of a year of being over here. It was just different. I was used to Southern California, and now all of a sudden I'm in North Carolina again.
Yeah. It's a big shift.
A whole different world.
It's a big shift.
And it's not really per se my world. So anyway, that's where I was at, and also talking to you during those times, it was fun, because you would encourage me to, look for, things on the beach, sea glass or shark's teeth.
Oh,
what,
yeah.
I found a shark's tooth, and, that was so cool. So, there was glimmers of, fun going on in my mind. Yeah. But I really missed Southern California, and I was just super lonely, and it's just not my vibe here, to be honest with you. I mean, that's just
low-key same. Okay, anyway. So that actually is the next point that we were going to highlight is what was the dysfunction that led to you wanting to even make the offer in the first place? What were the things as petty or small as they seem, that to you, you were like, this isn't really working, right? So like you said, the community's not really your vibe. It's very sleepy and slow and a little more conservative than you're used to. And then just being alone, like alone for the first time in a very long time, and not really having a support system to like love on you and guide you through that. And you had me, but I was really far away.
You know, but it's like she still lived
but that's only one
hours
person.
from
Yeah,
me,
and it's only one person. So that's, you know, it's really hard for her to provide.
And the time difference was hard for me to talk to my friends. And,
your West Coast friends. So yeah, absolutely. Like struggles of you, while you were intentionally breaking away, you were not meaning to necessarily isolate yourself.
Mm-hmm. No, and I felt very much isolated here.
So on the same note, in regards to like what directly led to my end of the agreement is I spent the year before I moved here to the East Coast. That was literally the worst year of my life to date that I can remember. And I moved from San Diego, from the beach house, back to where I was born and raised. And, you know, spent the summer and a few months after that just kind of like working and figuring out what the next steps were and going to the courthouse and like just trying to check the boxes to do what it took to get back to my kids, because I hadn't been away from them before that ever, like more than like a day and a half. And at that point it was like beginning to be months, right? We were at 5 months when I finally got back to them. And so I shifted. I was trying to put roots down where I'm from, where my family is, and trying to like lean on that support system. And really trying to cultivate relationships there that were going to be beneficial to the kids and their stability and what would keep them happy and like, you know, like emotionally and mentally stimulate them. And like, I was really trying to cultivate something there, and then the Arizona thing happened. I found out exactly where they were and looked into what it would take to shift, to go to where they were, because the people I was closest to at that time up in Washington and I sat down and really brainstormed, like how do we get the kids here, right? And I even took the time and the money to make a trip back to them, to him, to get them from him, so that that could free up his life to be Disneyland dad again and move on with his new girlfriend, and I could gain some, you know, semblance of normalcy with my children back, and that he wouldn't even let me see them. That trip was a complete waste. He wouldn't even let me see them. And I even at that point, to get to them, made a deal with somebody who is notorious in my personal circles for purposely screwing people over. And I made a deal with that person to get the flight to get to my kids. And I told him, like, hey, I'm coming to get the kids. And that's when the game started. Oh, good luck with that. You're not going to catch me. I won't be there. So I switched my flight to fly into a different place. And he was like, and I got there and he's like, nope, sorry, I already left. We're not here. Wasn't even able to see them. Even after taking the time and the money to make a deal with somebody to gain the ability to make it all come together without it being to my detriment was what it was. Because I needed to make it work so that it wasn't something that put me and them in a really bad spot. So we sat down and we tried to figure out, well, is there any other way to get them here? And the answer ultimately was no, you're going to have to go to that. So I uprooted everything I was building in Washington with my support system, and I moved it to Phoenix, Arizona. But it was because I found a phenomenal job under an amazing small business, Black-owned small business, and I was so blessed to be able to work for them and be associated with their business endeavors, because they had big plans for where they were going to place me because of what I'm capable of and my skill set and my lived wisdom, essentially. And they were like, hell yeah, we can utilize you, get your ass here pronto. And I did that, and I went to Phoenix, and I loved working there, and I was thriving in that situation for the first few weeks, and then the abuse started on his end because things were going a little too well, and he had no control over any of it. So he started to flex little bits and pieces of the control he had, which is that I was living in temporary housing and the kids were staying with him and his girlfriend living in her house that she owns. And so I would say okay, well, I just got my schedule. These are the days I have off. I'd love to have the kids with me during that time. This would be when I could pick them up. This would be when I would drop them off. And I was driving actively out of my way 20 to 30 minutes in traffic 2 ways to pick them up and drop them off. I was going through the fucking motions to show him that I was trying to meet him on his fucking playing field and do what it took to peacefully co-parent. And I was putting all the effort. And the games were, oh, well, I'm not your glorified babysitter. So I don't know why you think that you can just tell me when your days off are and think that you can get the kids. I shit you not. That was his fucking approach. And I was mind blown, because I was what the fuck are you talking about? You didn't even want these kids, right? First of all. And then secondly, for the past almost 10 years up to now, they've exclusively been raised by me while you dip in and out at your fucking jolly convenience. So what do you mean you're not my glorified babysitter? Bro, it took everything in me during the time that I lived in Arizona to not crash the fuck out in every way that I'm best at. And I'm talking about egging shit, breaking shit. I'm not even kidding you. I wanted to square up with his current girlfriend and be and what? Throw down with me. I'll go to jail. Don't even care. But I had to keep it together for them. I was trying to figure out how to play the long game for them. And it worked in my favor because, of course, his narcissism reared its ugly little head. And he lost control completely, right? Because you decided to advocate for me and become an ally and give me a way out of that. And all I needed was time with my children to get them out of Phoenix. That's all I needed. Because he was not being cooperative. He wasn't being respectful. He wasn't respecting boundaries. He was even not respecting the boundaries of his own girlfriend at the time, soliciting me for sex and things, So it's just one of those, it was a very toxic, weird, bad situation. And it came to a point where I wasn't going to be able to really stabilize myself and be the mother that I am, that I know I am, that I'm capable of being. And it was going to play out in a really bad way. And I think you kind of saw that from afar and was I know what he's doing and that's not okay. And if I can help it, he's not going to get away with that, is essentially kind of right. Am I right? Or you just were kind of thinking about them.
I mean, I just was that was the final straw for me, with as far as advocating with the kids situation, he reached that point where it was like, okay, you're not even gonna co-parent with the mother of your kids. Like, she's not even asking anything of you except for to watch your kids whenever she's not working, which is only a couple days a week, right?
Yeah, I was working 4 to 5 days a week. And at one point, my boss was like, dude, if you want 6 days on, I can give you 6 days because I kind of need you for 6 days. And I was like, I need 2 days a week with my kids. I need that.
Well, yeah, at that point, I would imagine anybody would say the same thing. You had not been with them for many, many months. Like, it's sad. I mean, your 1-year-old had his birthday not even with you. Like, it's wild to me. You know what I'm saying? So, with that kind of situation, and like after talking to you and realizing that you weren't a crazy person like he was saying, I mean, you have your quirks. I'm just kidding.
No, let's be very clear.
We'll talk about
I'm
that
crazy. Just not in the ways that he says I am.
Right. I mean, I was just like, she's obviously hurt, and who wouldn't be? And, like, she has been helping you and is a kind person, So...
Yeah, I really cared about your healing because I felt so bad about everything that he put us through and the fact that I had a hand in what he was capable of doing to you. And I was just like, dude, if nothing else, I owe you the solidarity and the friendship that comes from that shared experience, because what the entire fuck even was that? Like, what did he just put us through for 10 years?
Right, and in the same regard, it's like, I didn't know well enough in the beginning. Like, I believed what he was saying to me, his lies and stuff.
Oh yeah,
I believed
as
that.
did I, as does the current girlfriend now.
So, it's, but still, like, if I put myself in your shoes and I was you in that situation, I would have been all crazy. I mean, I agree. I get it. Like, it's effed up,
I'm gonna refer back to episode 1 when I was telling my part of the story and I brought up the boys, because they truly saved me in so many ways. When I tell you, Randy and LeVar, like, cool kids club for life. Mm-hmm. I would come back to that house like on the brink of crash out. Mm-hmm. And LeVar would see it in my eyes and he'd be like, I got you. Rowena, let's talk about it, boo. Let's put some music on. Let's talk about it. You know what I mean? And he's a little bit older than I am by, I think, maybe like 6 or 7 years. So he has enough lived experience as a black man in his 40s who's fucking gone through it and come out on top a million times over, because he's a fucking incredible human who's capable of so much, and he's so intelligent. And he could meet me mentally and be like, I see you. I understand why you want to act trailer trash, ratchet, and pop the fuck off and like make a name for yourself in Phoenix. I get that. Valid. Let's reconsider. And Randy, of course, just providing the comedic relief at every like corner of, like, every time I was on the brink of tears, he would just pop off with some like lame ass dad joke, or like the two of them together saved my life in Phoenix, because I really would have crashed out so many times if it was not for those boys. They were like, listen, let's go to Ojos Locos and look at half naked girls. And I'm like, I like where your head's at. Let's go do that since I can't spend time with my kids. So, but unfortunately, it wasn't something I could really hold on to tangibly without, once again, it being to my detriment because of the abuse cycle I was caught in attempting to co-parent with a narcissist. Mm-hmm. So that brings us to the pact itself, the agreement, right? Which is, who moved in with who, how money is handled, the responsibilities, how those are broken up, and then, of course, personal boundaries, right? So what did we talk about? Of course, because I am a stay-at-home mom and I'm moving to a new state, I'm not going to have employment right away, mm-hmm. but I'm going to be obtaining it as soon as humanly possible, mm-hmm. which I did, right? But we'll go into next episode. That also kind of ties into the struggles that we've been experiencing during this arrangement that we've had, because I came from the West Coast, from California, from Washington, where employment is ample. They are blue states. They pay much better. Cost of living is a little bit higher, but if you work 2 jobs, you can, do what you need to do for yourself. Cost of living here is significantly lower, and the amount of jobs that are available in the area that we are, in regards to what my skill sets are, because I have 2 trade degrees, but I don't have a college degree in anything. So to get a good quality paying job that would support me and my kids, I need a bachelor's or a master's here. Right? Except the trade that I have, which is a high paying trade, massage therapy, but I didn't have an active license in this state. Right, so that's been another thing that we've encountered where it's like, okay, great, I have the skill set, I have the certification, I have the actual job experience, but I don't have the physical license, so I can't make the money that I need to make to stabilize myself. So I settled for what I could find at the time, as soon as I could find it, right? And that was part of our agreement, right? You're going to get here, you're going to find employment, you're going to stabilize yourself, you're going to check all the boxes for all the things that the kids have been missing medically, you're going to get them into therapy, like, we're going to do this right. We're going to get, because the kids are the whole point of this, right? Like,
well, yeah, I mean, like, they hadn't gotten any of those items that you just listed off.
None of it. So that was the plan. Like, since
from the time they were gone from you.
Yeah, it's been one of those things where you knew you could provide the temporary stability to enable me to find stability to start over, because that was a really sticky situation and it was just continuing to spiral south.
Yeah.
So all financial responsibility on you at first until I could obtain proper employment.
Right.
We'll talk about it next episode, but spoiler alert, guys, I never obtained proper employment. I have recently, we're in the process of it, but it's literally been over a year.
Yeah.
Welcome to America.
There's a lot to discuss about
It's
that.
part of being in America, rural America, red state America, single mom raising 3 kids in America. All of it is a part of it, but there's been a lot that we did not realize we had to take into account. Yeah. Like, a lot. So then, adding on to that, the agreement itself, the rules, spoken versus unspoken, of what responsibilities lie where with the kids, right? Because the initial agreement was that you were willing to step in and help where needed until I could find childcare.
Yeah. That's...
Which we'll talk about more in the next episode, but...
Yeah, I was
Spoiler alert, guys.
No problem.
Childcare is not available. Okay. So that put a lot on you, right? That neither one of us anticipated, honestly. And luckily it hasn't made any big problems, but it has caused some smaller hiccups and things.
We didn't talk about how amazing it was, like, when you guys first got here.
Aww.
I was so happy. My heart was so warmed by seeing the kids again, like...
Because it had been at that point over a year since you saw them, right?
You sent me pictures and, like, videos and stuff like that, which was nice, but I hadn't seen them in so long, and so it was just... I don't know, Tai was asleep, and so it was, he was just cute when he was asleep. He didn't know where he was at first.
Oh, yeah, so, okay, I touched on it a little bit when I was in episode 1 when I was talking about, like, the journey to get here. I was so sick the week that I was driving cross country.
Yeah. Brutal.
And so we got here and I was like,
sick too.
I just want to sleep. I don't want to do anything else. And she was like, you got a day and a half left. You just got to get here and then you can sleep and I've got you. Like, you're good. Just get here. And I'm like, I can't. Go on. She's like, you can. You need to.
And you will, because the snow is coming right behind you if you don't. So.
Yeah, so when we made
and I can't afford to be paying for no more hotels.
Extra hotels, like 3 days? Nah. No. Plus we had Kitty with us. And that was like, I mean, a week on the road with our cat in the car with us. Because no, we did not have a U-Haul. We drove a fucking SUV. With my 3 kids and my cat and whatever else we could stuff into our car. And so I think it was all around a breath of fresh air and peace and joy when we arrived. Like, I was needing some time to recover, and it was a clean space, the cozy space, no chaos. Like, I knew that I could just sleep and that the kids were safe and that I was safe and we would be fed and we were, like, where we were going to be for a while. And I think they felt that. And just the gratitude, honestly, on my end, because you had allowed us to get there as safely and as comfortably as humanly possible given the circumstances. And you were like my hype man the whole way. I'm like checking in, I'm like, just had to throw away a fucking onesie that I just put on the baby because he had a diarrhea blowout. Gonna go throw up real quick. Back on the road in a minute.
I was like, calm down, here's some money. Just get some more clothes.
She's like, get Pedialyte and a new onesie, it'll be okay.
Oh, man.
Which really speaks to how the dynamic has continued to play out, honestly. Like, you've been, like, Captain Sabo the whole time. Like, and just because of every, like, roadblock and speed bump and hiccup and, you know, like,
and
U-turn
and
like everything, you know, every little
field trips.
Yeah. So when you offered us the space to come stay with you and start over, what were your thoughts on, you know, what were you to gain out of the situation? What were your, like, you know, did you have any anxieties or fears or, like, reservations about any parts of it? And then if things went south and you and I didn't get along, or I was a lazy bum and didn't get a job, or we completely trashed your place, or I went off the deep end and started going out every night and bringing dudes back to the apartment and, like, going crazy and, you know, like, what was your plan B? Like, what was your way out?
Okay. Wow, that's a lot of questions.
This is where it gets juicy, guys. Hang
well,
in there.
The first question was, what was I expecting? Or
No, so, like, what was, like, for you, like, to you, what were you to gain out of it? Like, what for you was like
Okay.
positive factor of offering that to us? Because that's a big offer.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I was feeling just still so sad, like to the point of just, it was a bad place. I was like, not enjoying anything in life, really.
I do remember you telling me, like,
And
I'm trying to meet people, I'm trying to go out and do things, but it just...
Well, it just doesn't vibe here because the people here are just so different from my vibe.
So companionship was one
Yeah.
thing for you to gain, was to gain that companionship
Yeah.
back and have people around and have that love and like...
Somebody that just, being here, I get energy out of that because it's like my soul comes alive or whatever. I'm like, I go into, the best house caregiver or whatever. Like, I don't know. I'm just like, I love to have people in my home. And
hostess mode. Like, you're very much
there
like,
we go.
let me feed you. Do you need anything? Let me get you a blanket.
Yeah.
Like, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So
that part of it fulfills you, and you were gaining that back to be able to like provide and nurture and like all of that.
That and the fact that like I really did miss the kids a lot. Like they were with us like every weekend for like a year and a half. It was
it was pretty regular there for a while. Yeah, it was before girlfriend number 3 came into the picture or back into the picture, and like the bender started. Like that whole a year and a half, about almost 2 years, was a really good stretch of you guys were coming consistently, spending consistent time with the kids.
Those were my favorite times.
Yeah, the Idlewild phase was, and once again, obviously, we've learned since then there were some things that were happening on the end of narcissism and abuse and lies and things, but in the general vibe, it was copacetic. The co-parenting was good. You guys were there consistently. You were spending time with the kids. You were spending time with the kids. There's a lot of memories being made, bonding being done. And they were both at the age, the older 2 were both at the age that they could consciously really like know who you are and spend that time with you and make those memories, because even now they still talk about remembering some of those times. So it was like a very like
nostalgic kind of time.
Absolutely.
For sure. Just
very functional for being in a narcissistic dynamic and a triangulation dynamic. It was about as functional as we could get, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
Yeah.
And so what were your reservations, or was there anything that you were like,
well, I was just like, I've been having everything my way in my house, and like a certain amount of peace and lots of sleep and, quiet and, being able to just do my own thing. And I knew that like the kids were going to bring a lot of noise and a lot of chaos, and I was concerned about my neighbors, and
which we'll cover in the next episode, but that is also something that has been a huge kind of roadblock for us in our situation, is
the neighbors.
Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. And we've had some really kick-ass neighbors too, actually, that we've made friends with, but it's so funny because that's super valid. Giving up your space, for sure, is a huge reservation to have, to move in 3 kids. And then also, while we were building a friendship and like kind of navigating that side of things, we didn't know each other still. So you were moving in your ex-boyfriend's baby mama and his 3 kids.
Yeah.
Because we are friends, and I would have considered us friends at that point, but like not the way that we are now. We definitely did not know each other then the way that we do now.
Yeah.
and we were very much strangers moving in together into like a roommate type dynamic, you know, which is so funny because Dr. Phil! No, I'm just kidding. Am I though? I'm just kidding. Okay, and then so for me, what did I think I would gain? What was I scared about, or what did I have reservations about? And, oh wait, we didn't go over, what was your plan B? If this didn't work out in your favor, like how were you going to get us out? And, oh wait, we didn't go over, what was your plan B? If this didn't work out in your favor, like how were you going to get us out? Well, that's a no for me, dog. If you're watching, you need to butt the fuck out. Okay.
Yeah. My plan.
Butt the fuck out. Okay.
Yeah. My plan.
In real time. Our ex is calling me right now.
Really late. He can't expect the. Really late. He can't expect the.
This is juicy because this is all going on the podcast. So this is juicy because this is all going on the podcast. So boo, we'll just gain clout over it.
I didn't really have any plan B. I just was like, if she, doesn't follow through on what we're intending to happen through this situation, then she'll just have to go. I mean, like, I wasn't thinking about plan B.
You're like, no, I'll just be like, get the fuck out.
Well, I mean, I am like, I've had enough in my life, let's put it that way, and I'm not going to beat around the bush about anything, like if I'm not feeling it, if it's just like gotta end, then I'm going to be like...
Which honestly has served us very well, because while we have had to navigate some ups and downs and figure each other out, your ability to stand your ground and state your truth and like not just be a doormat, has helped us a lot.
I have to, because in the past I have been a doormat. Like I have just like let things happen, like whatever. I don't want to like deal with the stress of like dealing with talking about it or whatever. So, yeah.
Well, I love that you were like, man, don't really need a plan B. If I don't like it, I'm just going to be like,
I don't really
bye.
get too much of life with a plan B, because shit normally works out for me, or if it doesn't, the right path is illuminated after that.
Okay, valid. And I honestly kind of have gone through life in a similar fashion. And so to take that and bring it over to my side, obviously I'll go from the bottom up on that list. My plan B was call up my family and all of my friends and be like, well, we kind of knew this was going to happen low-key, because why would it really work out in my favor? No, to be honest, yeah, literally, like, it was one of those things, because as you've seen, there's a lot of things I'm like, oh, got it in the bag, and then I'm like, wait, what do you mean I don't got it in the bag? I thought I had it in the bag, so of course I don't got it in the bag, so it's one of those, like, that was my plan B, was to just call every single person and be like, I fucked up, you told me, I kind of knew, that was dumb of me, my bad, please help me, and just go from there. That was my plan B. Because I didn't have a lot of reservations. My biggest reservation was that I didn't know you personally. well enough to know if there was an ulterior motive, if there was some sinister plan for you, like a plot to be like, yeah, I'll get her and the kids here and then I'll win him back and he'll come running back because he'll see that I'm everything he always wanted and I can take care of his kids and his baby mama.
Not on my mind at all. You're way more sinister than I
am. Okay. I can't say that I disagree with you. Because I very much do have like a vengeance mindset when it comes to people who do me dirty. And it's not because I like need to get my lick back. It's a sense of justice and completely unrelated, but I could potentially be autistic, I have found out, because I have such a strong sense of justice and I will like go so hard that I'll cut anyone off that I love if they're like not meeting my moral standards. I'm like, you're a fucked up person, bye. Like, so it's one of those like very much, for me, I just was like, I don't know, but low key, if I'm very much a follow my intuition kind of person, as are you.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel any yucky or icky type of way about it. So to me, I spent a few days kind of like meditating and pulling cards and talking to the universe and looking for synchronicities and talking to the people around me and just kind of like ruminating on everything. And
the cards told me it was the right thing to do.
The cards told me that it was the right thing to do as long as I didn't get sidetracked. And I'm still not quite sure what that was referring to, but I don't think I've gotten sidetracked. So I think that we're in the clear on that. But I will say that every single person that I cared about their opinion, every single person did speak up and say, listen, you're putting a lot on the line right now, putting all of that financial burden on one person and expecting them to show the fuck up for you and your kids. Because if for any reason she doesn't want to or she can't, you're extra screwed. Because then you're on the other side of the country, fool, and we can't help you then.
Right.
All of them said it.
Yeah.
And I still did not get that intuitive feeling of, this is probably a bad idea. Because I've had that a few times in my life. And the universe was like, Shawty, we told you and you didn't listen. And so I was like, you know what? I'm not feeling any sort of way. I'm just going to jump. I'm going to jump fucking feet first and just see what happens, right? I know how to tread water, literally and metaphorically. Been doing it since day one. So what I thought I would stand to gain out of it, obviously, was, you know, peace, stability, a chance to start over, a true friendship with you, and or other people in your community and people that are associated with you. I was hoping, because in my journey of being mixed up with a narcissist for so long and being triangulated against people, being like in solidarity, literally at the top of a mountain away from people, like I lost the physical support system. I've kept a lot of friends distantly, but I was very much starting my whole life over. And I was kind of ready to make that leap and just try it. Because that's what I did when I moved to California, was I kind of left everything behind and I started over. But I still kept a lot of the same ties, and the ties that I kept consistently kept dragging me down and bringing me back to a place I didn't want to be and ruining good situations for me and just providing temptation in situations that I really didn't need, you know, leading me to make some pretty not great choices for myself. And of course, I've built myself up out of that every single time. But with 3 kids in tow and with a list of tired ass motherfuckers behind me who are like, dude, when are you actually gonna get it together? You know what I mean? I was like, Christine's my last hope. So I took it. I really saw the opportunity to fully turn my life around and start over and gain true stability. And so that's what I was chasing.
Well, I'm glad you did. I think it's been going well. We can talk more about the rest of it next time, right?
Nope. We still got more. Are you tired?
I'm exhausted.
She's like, can I go to sleep
I'm
yet?
exhausted.
Okay, so I just want to talk about a couple little things.
Okay.
So the big thing is just, we'll touch on quickly, expectation versus reality. Of course, leading into next episode, which is, we both kind of saw the situation through rose-colored lenses when you made the initial offer to me, and I accepted, and I moved here. That's not to say that our situation hasn't gone well overall. I think it's going well, right? But there have been a
Moments of insanity.
Yeah, there's been a stark difference between what I think we both expected the situation to be versus that turned off versus what it has actually been. And then the bigger picture of how has this arrangement and like entering into this agreement together changed your view of family, friendship, you know, healing from what you were going through? Yeah. Oh. Just your thoughts. It doesn't have to be in depth, but just like
changed it significantly. I mean, like before having a house full of children,
24/7 with no break ever.
Yeah, I was like seriously depressed that I had never gotten pregnant, you know? You know, and
because that was something you were actively seeking, was a family with our shared ex. Yes. You were like, I want a baby, I want to have a family.
Absolutely, yeah, I didn't know a lot of things then when I wanted that, but so, and I could supposedly, according to the doctors, nothing was wrong, so it was the universe decided, I think.
Definitely stepped in, because having all 3 of them here 24/7.
Oh, I definitely changed my mind about that. I'm like super glad that I never had kids. It is a lot. I mean,
it's so much.
For anyone who wants to have kids, I'm just telling you right now, I have been where you've been, and I have been crying at the commercials because I don't have a baby, like just emotional about it. And like after this experience, I'm like, I dodged a bullet.
Clock it. That's the tea. Because my kids are really good kids.
They are. They're amazing. Like, there could be so much worse kids in the world, let me tell you. But it is a lot. Like, it's constant. You never have a moment to think your own thoughts. Like, ever. It is constant.
Yeah. So. Which we'll go over in the next episode, because that's another thing that we've struggled with, is not ever having a break and constantly being up in each other's fucking space and having to navigate co-parenting all these children in their trauma in different age stages, and like,
yeah,
we are raising my children. Yeah. It's a lot.
Well, just so everybody knows, it's really late and they are asleep, so.
They are, yes. Yeah, we're on the East Coast. That's why we start at 9 p.m. because my children are in bed at a normal hour.
Yeah.
And that allows us to have this time to really talk to you guys uninterrupted.
That's why I'm yawning so much, because
it's late.
Yeah.
And then
Mosquitoes. We should talk about mosquitoes. I'm just kidding. This is another reason why I've been
the
itching the whole night. Like, there's so many mosquitoes in North Carolina.
East Coast
like,
living.
It's not even funny.
It's another big shift from California to North Carolina.
No mosquitoes in SoCal, none. And now here, like, tons. It's nuts.
They eat you up the second you step outside.
Yes.
Okay, so if someone in a similar situation is offered any type of way out of like a toxic co-parenting dynamic, would you suggest to them to take that? And or for someone who is on the support end of someone who is in a toxic co-parenting dynamic, trying to start over, gain some stability, would you recommend them to enter into an arrangement similar to this? Do you feel like it is something that is a mutually beneficial arrangement?
Well, I mean, dude, listen, like, not everyone is going to want to do what I've done. Not everyone has that sort of amount of openness in their world and how it, like,
let's be real, most people would not, do not, could
so
not.
I mean, you know, if you're that kind of person and then you start to think you might want to, just no, the answer for you is no.
She said, don't do it!
The answer for you is no. But, you know, if you're the kind of person who is like me, who's always opened up your doors to other people to help them and whatnot, and be a good friend to people, then yeah, I mean, like, sure, I think you should put a limit on it, but...
Absolutely. Which is another thing that we'll touch on in episodes to come, but when the original offer was made, you didn't really have a time limit. We were like, 6 months-ish. If it takes a year, we'll deal with it. We'll navigate it as it comes, but as short term as we can manage. And now it's to a point where it's well over a year, and you are like, listen, I've done what I can. We need to figure out a way to shift, right? Which was a part of the original agreement. That was a part of our boundaries that we set, that you were allowed to make that call at any given point, on any given day, even if it was day 2.
But I'm not the kind of person that's like, yo, bitch, get the fuck out. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, no, but the thing is, though, is you reserve that right.
To
and I have that
how I feel.
Well, and I have that respect for you, that if it came to that and you were like, I truly cannot anymore, this is the very last day that I can handle this, of course we would work that out and we would do whatever it took to make that arrangement just cut it short, let's shift, right? So the cool thing about that is the warning that you have for people on your end is it's a big commitment. It's a lot of money. You're giving up all of your space. You're giving up all of your peace for whatever period of time, whether it be short term or long term, right?
Right. You might have an idea about how children should be raised, but you've got to consider that other people have different ideas. So
true story. And that's a huge part of what we go through on a daily basis is my ideas of parenting and her ideas of parenting and how we need to meet in the middle, because she does give me the respect to generally call the shots, but she also does draw her own boundaries and say, hey, this doesn't work for me. I feel extremely disrespected when this happens. You know, perfect example, and we won't go into like heavy details, but like dishes being broken, walls getting holes in them from accidents happening.
We have lots of things to talk to you
lots about. Of stuff that like to her she has the patience of a saint, because a lot of people by now would have been like, hey, y'all gotta go. And once again, my kids are good kids. It's not like they're unruly or like anything like that. They're generally respectful. They're very intelligent. You know, they keep a pretty...
They're just allowed to be kids, which most people
I
like
fully
myself are
allow
not
my
used
children.
to.
I'm
not used to it.
Absolutely, I fully allow them the
Gen
autonomy
X
to be
over
kids.
here is like, you know, it's my way or the highway. That's how I was raised. So,
well, you know, to your credit, you've been extremely flexible and patient.
hey, I'm learning things from the millennial over here.
Okay, so the very last thing is, I just want to wrap up. If you could write like a short 1-page letter to yourself, like the week that you made the offer to me, and tell her what to expect and how to better prepare herself.
Oh, Lord.
What would you tell her? Dear Christine, D. Sorry.
Dear D, soak up all of the quiet that you can now. Do some meditation and some yoga. And do lots of it. Because once they get here, it's going to be complete chaos from start to finish. And,
Valid.
and, save money now. Don't spend a lot of money on crazy stuff when they get here just because you're trying to like make the kids smile and happy.
You know what's
Save
so funny?
money.
I was literally thinking about that the other day. I kid you not. That's so funny. Okay, and so if I could write a letter to myself, Kylie, the week that the offer was made and accepted, on what she could expect and how she could prepare better, I would say, rethink what the fuck you're packing. For one thing. And start packing a lot goddamn sooner, because you did not do what you were supposed to do. Okay. Second note. Don't think that this is going to be an easy transition. Give yourself the grace and the patience to allow things to be a little bumpy, and make sure that you're showing gratitude and respect to D when those bumpy times arrive. Because my biggest thing is that when I am met with any sort of like opposition, defiance, anything, when I'm not in a mind space to receive it and process it, I'm not a nice or respectful person. And I really talk out the side of my fucking neck.
She gets dysregulated.
And I'm working on that. But the thing is the amount that you do for the kids and I, and what you have sacrificed to provide us peace and stability and a second chance. Like, if I could prepare myself mentally to like check myself and really like be in the right mindset with you in times of like hardship, I think that's probably what I would have told myself, is like, it's going to be quite a bit bumpier than you're expecting, and you need to fucking be an adult about it, honestly. If I could reflect just overall. Because I feel like as great as we get along and as good as our dynamic is and as well as it works, when it's not working, it's usually because I'm in a very like negative, reactive space. You know what I mean? You're trying to draw a boundary or express yourself, or something has happened that neither of us expected, and I'm extremely dysregulated and I take it out on you. Because I'm trying not to take it out on the kids, you know? But that's the thing. That's another thing we've experienced, is like when I'm trying to shift from taking it out on you, I end up taking it out on the kids, because there's never a break. I don't like, I'm still building a community. I'm still making friends, right? I don't have hobbies. Like, I don't ever get to really go just be an adult. And I don't mean ever, because to her credit, she has given me like a couple hours here, a couple hours there, go do what you need to do, reset. I think you paid for me to go get a pedicure one time. You paid for me to go get drinks on the beach one time. Like, you've definitely held space for me. But as a single mom of 3, I need to find hobbies and friends and time for myself and really like prioritize that part of things so that I can be a human and also be a mom, right? So we're going to end this with a fun little last minute. The last couple minutes is we're going to play a little game, and I'm going to give you a couple of scenarios, okay? These are metaphorical scenarios, and Dee is going to share with us whether she thinks that's a red flag or, you know what, that's a typical Tuesday in our house. Okay, so the first one, hypothetical situation. It's 7:30 a.m. We have 3 pieces of bread left. The oldest makes it for breakfast and eats it. Just before the middle wakes up and decides that's not fair because that is the only thing that he wanted for breakfast. So they start screaming at each other and wake up the baby.
That is just a regular Tuesday in our house.
That's a regular Tuesday. Okay. Scenario number 2.
That you left out that then they wake me up.
Oh yeah, no, the whole house is awake at that point. At 7:30 a.m. Who's sleeping in? Not her. Not fucking me.
Rough, yeah.
Okay, scenario number 2. It's a family beach day. Okay? We pack up everything into the car. We've got the baby bag, we've got the snacks in the cooler, we've got the umbrella. We get there and we set up and we realize in all of the hullabaloo, not only did we not apply sunscreen, we also didn't bring it.
That's just a regular Tuesday, yeah.
You hear that, guys? That's a regular Tuesday in our house.
It's not easy to remember everything, especially when you have several people talking to you constantly. Like, you just don't go, oh, I need to get the sunscreen. No, because you've got somebody going, so-and-so did this to me, and so-and-so did
Can
this
I
to
bring
me.
this? Are we allowed to bring this? Where are we going? Oh, God. Okay. Scenario number 3.
Okay.
The kids are enjoying a beautiful summer day in our neighborhood. Mm-hmm. Out in the yard, riding bikes, playing with the neighborhood kids, running through the sprinklers, right? We live in an HOA. It's a relatively safe area. We get a knock on the door and it's CPS. Because the neighbors are concerned about the well-being of our children.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say it's a regular Tuesday, but it happened on a Tuesday.
Oh my God! Oh my God.
Yeah, the neighbors were upset because the kids didn't have shoes on. And, yeah, other stupid stuff.
Very stupid, trivial, petty things. And of course, when CPS got involved and everything was explained to them, they were like, well, we don't really need to be here.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of crazy. Low-key, we don't really need to be here. And that's a beautiful part of, honestly, a blessing in disguise, because there has been a lot of things that have gone in our favor during this situation, this arrangement. And one of those is the mass quantity of professionals involved in so many aspects from so many angles regarding the well-being and the treatment and the rehabilitation and the stability of these kids. CPS touched base with their counselors, with their pediatrician, everyone is on the same page as us in regards to what is best for them and how to move forward to help them, have the best life possible. Okay, so the last scenario. We're just living our best lives at home, right? Doing our thing. It's any day. Any day. And the kids get a FaceTime from dad. And he decides that something he has seen or heard in the background is offensive or worrisome. So he proceeds to act weird, end the call, and then bombard the two of us with copy and paste text messages.
I mean, it could possibly, it doesn't happen every Tuesday, but it's happened at least once, so.
It's a regular Tuesday.
For you.
Oh, you keep him blocked for the most part.
Well, yeah.
Here and there he gets unblocked because the kids use her phone when I'm out running errands or doing what I need to do. And so there will be points when his number's unblocked on her phone and we will literally get the same 12 text messages sent to us at the same time.
Practically, yeah, definitely.
So this is just a sneak peek of some of the things that we have experienced in regards to things that haven't not worked out necessarily in our favor or have made it a little harder for us to navigate our arrangement. And that's what we'll go into next week. And coming up in a few episodes, we will be doing a Q&A. So if you want to drop them, if you want to pop into a live, drop some questions that you have. If you want to click into any of the recaps on any of the lives and leave some questions for us, we will do a Q&A episode where we answer all of your guys' hottest and most controversial questions about our dynamic and anything related to it. So until then, thanks for joining us. We love you all, and we'll see you next week.